I'm starting an OnlyFans. A phrase that keeps cropping up these days more and more. OnlyFans has been hailed as the digital age's shortcut to empowerment, a supposed fast track to financial freedom for ordinary people tired of traditional work, qualifications and gatekeepers. It's sold as creative independence, where anyone can monetize their image and control their destiny. Mainstream outlets have eagerly echoed this narrative. The Guardian hailed it as a feminist revolution in the gig economy, while Rolling Stone praised it as a space where women reclaim agency from exploitative institutions. It's a seductive idea, one that flatters both the audience and the platform itself, but it conceals a far harsher truth. For the vast majority, OnlyFans isn't empowerment, it's a digital pyramid scheme dressed up as liberation, where a privileged few profit from the illusion that anyone can make it. And the moment you look beyond the marketing gloss, that illusion starts to crumble. Behind the glossy empowerment narrative lies a truth that's far more disturbing. For many, selling intimacy online isn't liberating, it's corrosive. The act of commodifying one's own body and sexuality inevitably takes a toll, chipping away at self-respect, privacy and emotional stability. What's marketed as taking control often becomes a cycle of guilt, numbness and self-alienation as creators struggle to reconcile their public persona with their private conscience. Over time, that conflict erodes mental health, leaving many feeling hollow, objectified and spiritually depleted. The inevitable consequence of turning something deeply personal into a product for mass consumption. So, with all that said, join me today, not for a moral sermon, but for an honest look at what this industry really does to the people within it. I am Lady Decade, and if you enjoy a good counter narrative, then hit that subscribe button, as this is why I have no intentions of starting an OnlyFans. Gooning. It's a word that's been flung around the internet a lot lately, usually by journalists trying to discredit the art direction of games that feature a traditionally attractive cast of characters. In fact, some of the most popular games of the past year and a half have been dragged through the mud by the gaming press for their supposed gooning potential, which apparently is now a metric worthy of critique. But the good news is that men of culture everywhere can rejoice, as you can use my links to get 39% off Stellar Blade, 56% off of Nier Automata, 47% off Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, and up to 90% off of thousands more titles for next to nothing. Each purchase helps support videos like this, and if you really love my work, get access to my behind the scenes cosplay library and more by becoming a backer over on Patreon. Enjoy. Strip away the hype, the headlines and the curated screenshots of bank balances, and the numbers reveal a very different story about OnlyFans, one far removed from the dream of equal opportunity. Research from the Financial Times and Insider show the top 1% of creators earn roughly a third of all revenue, while the top 10% take in nearly 3/4. Essentially, OnlyFans has never been the get-rich-quick scheme it's often seen to be, but instead a platform that mostly benefits very few. The platform's own data confirms it. The vast majority of creators earn next to nothing, while a tiny handful, mostly celebrities, established adult performers and social media influencers, make hundreds of thousands each month. In other words, you usually already need to find success elsewhere to have any real chance of being successful on the platform itself. What's sold as a democratized space for creative freedom is, in practice, one of the most unequal digital ecosystems ever recorded. To put the stats into perspective, economists measure inequality using the Gini coefficient, where 0 means equality and 1 means absolute disparity. South Africa, one of the world's most unequal nations, scores around 0.68. OnlyFans is estimated at 0.83. It is, in essence, a digital aristocracy, a marketplace ruled by a microscopic elite. Which is fine, because that is how capitalist societies generally work. But what's especially insidious about OnlyFans is how they effectively market themselves around a false sense of empowerment. Come on, let's be honest. True empowerment is doing what you feel like doing with your time, such as playing the Vectrix, for example. If you are into the sort of joystick waggling that doesn't make you go blind, you might be interested in checking out my video on this legendary device over on my brand new pure retro gaming channel, Lady Arcade, so subscribe and enjoy. As for OnlyFans, the platform and its top creators promote the idea that anyone can succeed with confidence and hard work, but that's a myth designed to sustain participation, not reflect reality. As Vox observed, OnlyFans sells empowerment in the same way the lottery sells hope. The system survives because belief in that hope keeps people feeding it. This pattern, of course, isn't unique to OnlyFans. Across social media and streaming platforms, visibility determines reward, not skill or labour, but OnlyFans amplifies that imbalance because it trades not in art or entertainment, but in the self. It's the most personal form of commodification yet, one that reduces autonomy to an algorithmic outcome. Empowerment here exists only for the few already positioned to win. For everyone else, it's an illusion, a mirage of freedom that fades the moment you look at the numbers, which makes it all the more alarming that so many women are continuously signing up. Studies cited by Wired show that around 60% of new creators abandon their accounts within a year, a collapse rate closer to pyramid marketing schemes than sustainable creative work. The causes are familiar: minimal income, harassment, burnout, and the fatigue of constant availability. Former creators told The Washington Post they felt emotionally exhausted, pressured to stay online, reply instantly, and continually escalate explicit content to hold subscribers' attention. This churn isn't an accident, it's the business model. OnlyFans depends on a steady influx of newcomers lured by the fantasy of easy success to replace those who quietly burn out. Each wave renews the illusion of opportunity, much like gambling. A few visible winners legitimize the losses of the many. Forbes summed it up best. OnlyFans' growth model mirrors a revolving door. The dream of success is renewable, even if the people chasing it are not. What's worse is that every viral success story reinforces belief in the system while the failure vanishes into the algorithm. OnlyFans doesn't need its creators to succeed, only to keep believing they could. So, when it is a concrete fact that so few make it, why do so many people willingly give up their privacy, their peace of mind, and their dignity to chase a dream that statistically doesn't exist? Every visibility-driven industry has its poster children, the outliers held up as proof that anyone can make it with enough effort. On OnlyFans, those faces aren't struggling newcomers, but celebrities, influencers and entertainers who arrive with ready-made audiences and media infrastructure. Their headline-grabbing earnings serve as seductive marketing for the platform's supposed accessibility, when in truth they prove the opposite. Take rapper Bad Baby, who first gained notoriety from Dr. Phil. When she joined OnlyFans in 2021, Billboard reported she earned $1 million in 6 hours, a figure confirmed by the platform itself. It was celebrated as a young woman reclaiming her image, but her success was built on years of notoriety and an existing fan base. The same pattern repeated with influencer rapper Lil Tay, whose reported $1 million launch owed everything to media coverage and virality, not organic discovery. Bella Thorne's case in 2020 showed the same dynamic. The former Disney star made over $2 million in a week, prompting OnlyFans to change its payout rules after the influx of subscribers. She later admitted her sign-up was partly research for a film role, highlighting how celebrity participation is often performance, not necessity. Other famous figures have followed suit. The Guardian reported singer Lily Allen earning more from feed photos on OnlyFans than from music streaming royalties, while reality star Katie Price used the platform to stay in headlines during bankruptcy. As you can see in these cases, fame did the heavy lifting. These were not tales of ordinary people finding opportunity, but of public figures monetizing attention one more time. Belle Delphine's story illustrates the limits even for the successful. Vice noted her initial boom turned into decline once curiosity waned, novelty fades, and so does revenue. This same model now extends to wrestlers, reality TV contestants, and internet personalities using OnlyFans as an after-career revenue stream. Collectively, these cases reveal that the platform's wealthiest creators represent not empowerment but exclusivity, a celebrity class class using accessibility as advertising. Each million-dollar headline sustains the myth that anyone can replicate their success, even though the key ingredients, fame, following and publicity, are unattainable for most. OnlyFans continues to benefit from this illusion, presenting itself as an open marketplace, when really it remains another arena where fame, as is most often the case, dictates most of the rules. Behind the rhetoric of independence lies a parallel industry that treats creators less as entrepreneurs and more as inventory. A growing network of management agencies recruits and controls creators' accounts at scale, inserting paid operators into private messages so subscribers who think they're chatting with a woman are often speaking to shift workers trained to upsell intimacy. Investigations have compared these firms to pimps rather than managers, with documented cases of agencies locking creators out of their accounts and seizing earnings as leverage. Undercover reporting has exposed the full machinery, chat scripts, sales quotas and call centre style operations that turn emotional labour into a product. The supposed authenticity that OnlyFans markets becomes manufactured performance, while creators lose both autonomy and authorship over their identities. European outlets have found similar patterns with get-rich management courses and referral-based recruitment mirroring multi-level marketing schemes. It's an ecosystem built on industrialised seduction and outsourced identity where third parties profit while creators shoulder reputational risk. From impersonation, the picture widens to a broader safety crisis. Studies on digital sex work show widespread doxing, leaks and harassment are routine, not rare. Platform policy changes often add instability, sudden payout freezes or new moderation rules can leave creators financially stranded overnight. The entire line of work is a complete minefield. As for anyone with common sense will be aware, the harsh reality is that once explicit content is copied or scraped, it is effectively permanent. Digital risk experts stress that takedowns rarely restore anonymity. Mirrored files and aggregator sites ensure that linked material lives on indefinitely. Mainstream broadcasters have echoed these warnings, urging would-be creators to consider the lifelong shadow of explicit content. Many former users have described jobs lost or relationships strained once their online identities were discovered. Advocacy groups tackling online abuse note frequent cases of creators being doxed or blackmailed after rejecting advances, with personal details posted in retaliation. Simple download tools make it easy for subscribers to pirate paywalled material, fueling revenge posting and extortion. Even without external attacks, the platform itself erodes boundaries. Surveys show around a third of creators experience mental health decline. Survivor networks describe a shared fear. Once explicit material is public, it can never truly be retracted. So, sure, moving sex work online may reduce physical danger, but it replaces it with something subtler and harder to escape: industrialized impersonation, irreversible exposure, and a permanent loss of control disguised as freedom. But what's more sinister is that the deeper we scrutinise this line of work, the worse it looks. For many creators, the most serious effects of joining OnlyFans appear not immediately but years later, when their digital footprints begin shaping how employers, lenders and even government agencies see them. Once explicit material is tied to a name, it becomes permanent, searchable, archived and mirrored across databases and image boards. In an age where nearly every employer performs online checks, that visibility can quietly close entire career paths. Teachers, nurses and other public sector workers have lost jobs after their accounts were discovered, often under pseudonyms and posted outside working hours. Schools and hospitals have cited conduct unbecoming or bringing the profession into disrepute, even without breaches of contract. Former teachers have described being doxed by parents or students, then told their employment was untenable. These cases show how online work can be weaponised by others regardless of legality or consent. Attempts at anonymity rarely hold. Employers increasingly use data broker services such as Spokeo and MyLife, which aggregate public records, scraped archives and metadata to match identities across platforms. A single image or username can link back to a person within seconds, collapsing the boundary between private and professional life. In fields requiring trust or public representation, that kind of exposure can end a career. Financial institutions take a similarly cautious stance. Banks and mortgage lenders often flag adult content income as unstable or reputationally risky, leading to loan denials or frozen accounts. Many creators struggle to prove consistent earnings to HMRC because payments are routed through intermediaries or foreign processors. The stigma is so entrenched that even OnlyFans' own chief executive has admitted to repeated banking restrictions and sudden processor suspensions, a clear warning of how precarious the system is for individuals who depend on those same pipelines. The repercussions extend to roles involving background checks or security clearance. Government and defence jobs include clauses about reputational vulnerability and exposure to blackmail, making any explicit content history a potential disqualifier. Even in unrelated industries, algorithmic vetting tools flag such material automatically, ensuring it remains visible to recruiters indefinitely. When I say I would never set up an OnlyFans, it's not just down to my own moral judgment. It's equally about data permanence and how digital vetting works. Once something enters the online ecosystem, it becomes part of a person's permanent record, influencing decisions made by employers, insurers, lenders, and bureaucracies for decades. The control OnlyFans promises evaporates the moment those systems begin to interpret the data it leaves behind, and by then, the record cannot be erased. Essentially, once an OnlyFans model, always an OnlyFans model. Compounding all of the issues in this field, often behind all of the curated smiles and constant online presence that define success on OnlyFans lies a profound psychological cost. After all, the platform's model doesn't just sell explicit material, it sells intimacy. Creators are expected to maintain a parasocial connection where subscribers believe they share a personal bond. Every message becomes emotional labour, every response a small performance. Over time, many describe living in two realities: the persona that keeps the income flowing and the private self slowly eroded by it. As competition grows, the strain intensifies. Income depends on constant engagement, leaving the rest tinged with guilt and silence, punished by the lost subscribers. The endless cycle of messages and demands creates chronic anxiety, burnout, and identity confusion. Creators often report depression and dissociation as the boundary between self and performance dissolves. This fallout doesn't always happen online either. Romantic relationships frequently suffer under the weight of monetized affection. Some partners may support the work in principle but struggle with its daily reality, affection replicated for paying strangers. Some creators admit that their personal relationships began to feel transactional, mirroring the emotional scripts they perform on the platform. Families too face strain as secrecy, stigma, and harassment bleed into home life. Emotional availability becomes a commodity, with empathy and reassurance sold alongside sexuality. The creator's time, attention, and mood all become inventory. This cycle breeds dependence. The system rewards overexposure and punishes absence, trapping creators in a loop where exhaustion risks poverty. Many continue long after the work ceases to feel empowering, too anxious to stop for fear of financial collapse or public humiliation. What begins as liberation becomes an emotional treadmill, one that drains energy and self-worth whilst demanding ever greater intimacy. In this light, OnlyFans is not a platform of empowerment, but a mechanism of extraction, one that monetizes not only the body, but the mind. It turns connection into a commodity and emotion into a product, leaving many of its performers unable to step off the stage without losing both their income and their sense of self. A few years ago, such a toll would have been quite obvious, but today it's masked by the language of so-called empowerment, dressed up in glossy marketing and self-help slogans that reframe exploitation as choice and dependency as freedom. It's beyond cynical. In just a few years, OnlyFans has shifted from taboo to trend. What began as a niche adult platform has been rebranded through social media and celebrity marketing into a seemingly legitimate career path. Influencers now mention OnlyFans as casually as brand deals, while mainstream outlets celebrate self-made creators and reality stars promote their accounts without hesitation. But the truth is, the stigma hasn't disappeared, it's been monetized. Sex work has been reframed through a consumer-friendly lens that markets self-exposure as empowering women. What was once a last resort is now presented as entrepreneurship, a savvy business move. Across TikTok and Instagram, the message is simple. If you're attractive and confident, why not capitalize on it? It's a sales pitch disguised as feminism, aimed at a generation raised on digital self-promotion. And it's led to many troubling consequences. The most disturbing symptom of this culture is the 18th birthday pipeline, a growing pattern where teenage influencers build audiences on family-friendly platforms, then pivot to OnlyFans the moment they turn 18. Content houses like Bop House and influencers such as Sophie Rain exemplify this. They amass huge teenage followings through dance trends and lifestyle videos before abruptly shifting to adult content the day they became legal.
She said she was 12!
Their underage followers are then targeted by algorithms promoting their new material, blurring the lines between marketing and manipulation. The cultural impact is profound. When young audiences see their idols treat explicit content as a natural career move, they internalise the idea that commodified sexuality equals success. The language of empowerment hides what is essentially a form of algorithmic grooming, one driven by corporate incentives rather than predators in the shadows. Platforms reward management and nothing drives engagement like sexualized content, so the system itself learns to amplify it. This is grooming by design, public, profitable and normalized. It conditions young people to equate desirability with worth until self-objectification feels like autonomy. By the time these influences reach adulthood, their shift into explicit work seems inevitable. Society applauds it as liberation, overlooking that it's really the product of years of digital conditioning. It's a feedback loop of exploitation sold falsely as a choice. But what I find most sickening about the whole thing is that it seems to affect all women to some extent, whether they're on the platform or not. You see, the ripple effect of OnlyFans reaches far beyond the platform, reshaping how women are perceived across creative and entertainment spaces. In communities once defined by skill or artistry, gaming, music, cosplay and digital art, visibility now carries an unspoken assumption that every woman online is selling access to herself. The mere act of existing publicly invites speculation about monetized intimacy. This shift is especially visible in cosplay and art circles. Female creators increasingly face invasive comments asking whether they have an OnlyFans, even when their work is non-sexual. The assumption is that any woman who presents herself confidently must also be doing some kind of sex work, and that affects both the individual and the art form. This same dynamic affects adjacent industries like modelling, streaming and performance art. The boundary between professional identity and sexual persona has blurred so deeply that some women now feel compelled to clarify that they don't produce adult content simply to be taken seriously. Over time, the association between female visibility and sexual availability becomes so dominant that it eclipses everything else. This new normal affects even women who never touch the platform. As the idea of monetized intimacy spreads, respect for women's work online erodes. For younger creators, this environment sends a troubling message that success and self-sexualization are inseparable. Far from dismantling objectification, OnlyFans has refined it, a digital culture that conflates creativity with sexuality and treats autonomy as a sales pitch. The platform's very existence has changed the social contract, normalising the idea that women should be selling their bodies for a living. At the heart of the OnlyFans debate lies a seductive myth that participation is either empowerment or exploitation, as though the two are opposites. This framing suits marketing, not reality. For most creators, joining the platform isn't a triumph of autonomy or a political act, it's a practical response to economic pressure in a world where traditional routes to stability have collapsed. When rent consumes half an income, wages stagnate and secure jobs vanish, a sign promising rapid independent earnings looks like salvation. But context matters. Calling this empowerment ignores the economic coercion behind it. Joining OnlyFans may be voluntary on paper, yet it often stems from necessity and not desire. It reflects a system that leaves many, particularly women, with few viable alternatives. The empowerment narrative serves a dual purpose. It flatters participants while masking structural failure. By celebrating choice, society absolves itself of fixing the conditions that drive it: unaffordable housing, debt, vanishing job security. Governments and corporations praise empowerment through self-exposure while presiding over the crises that make it appealing. The platform isn't proof of progress but a symptom of decline, marketed as liberation. True empowerment requires real options: fair pay, education, mobility, stability that doesn't depend on self-objectification. Without these, empowerment becomes a slogan, a way to romanticize survival. Monetizing one's image might feel empowering compared to precarious work, but the power dynamic remains the same. Wealth flows upwards. Algorithms dictate visibility, and autonomy exists only within corporate boundaries. That's just the message. What really makes this rhetoric so effective is its ability to silence dissent. As you've probably noticed, anyone questioning the system risks being branded prudish or anti-feminist. The language of choice becomes a shield protecting exploitation, forcing women to defend a structure that commodifies them. This inversion, where criticism is labelled oppression, represents one of the digital age's most successful marketing triumphs. It also reflects a broader trend, the commodification of feminism itself. Over the past decade, corporate culture has turned once radical ideas about equality into lifestyle branding. Empowerment has become a product stripped of politics, sold as an aesthetic. In this commercialised liberation, self-exposure isn't rebellion, but a business strategy enriching the very structures it claims to defy. OnlyFans is the logical conclusion of that logic, a marketplace that transforms vulnerability into currency while convincing its users that this transaction equals freedom. It isn't empowerment or exploitation, but both. A system that blurs the two until they become indistinguishable. And in that blurring lies its power, the illusion that selling oneself is the same thing as being free. It's easy to criticise the illusion of empowerment sold by platforms like OnlyFans, but the desire behind it, the search for independence, stability and creative control, is entirely legitimate. The issue isn't the ambition, it's the environment that exploits it. What's missing from the conversation is clarity on the alternatives: sustainable, skill-based ways to earn online without surrendering privacy, employability or self-respect. For creators with artistic or analytical talent, platforms like Patreon, Ko-fi and Substack offer safer independence. They let people monetize creative or educational work without commodifying the self. Writers can build newsletters, artists can share tutorials, and musicians can connect with fans through genuine interest rather than personal access. Sure, returns aren't instant, but they are scalable, rewarding the expertise and consistency instead of constant emotional availability. Over time, that builds credibility, not dependency. In my opinion, every creator should view their digital presence as an investment portfolio that appreciates only when managed wisely. The choices made today shape employability, reputation and safety years from now. Data permanence means that what's posted never truly disappears, and employers and clients increasingly judge what they find. Setting boundaries, choosing platforms carefully and prioritising quality over visibility aren't fears, they're signs of foresight. The internet still holds space for genuine empowerment, but it demands discipline, valuing longevity over virality, reputation over reach. True independence isn't measured by followers or fast profit, it's measured by the freedom to define your work without being defined by it. The influence of OnlyFans extends far beyond its creators and subscribers, reshaping cultural norms. For younger generations raised to equate visibility with value, the idea that affection and desire can be monetized has become not only normal but aspirational. In this new economy of desire, human interaction becomes a product. Men are encouraged to buy access as validation, while women are urged to package themselves for profit. The result is a culture that mistakes transaction for intimacy and audience size for self-worth. Genuine connection built on patience and vulnerability cannot survive in a system that rewards speed and novelty. As these dynamics seep into wider culture, romance and friendship alike become commodified, society with empathy replaced by entitlement. When every interaction carries an implicit price, trust erodes, authenticity becomes suspect, kindness looks strategic, and confidence performative. Men grow cynical, assuming attention is transactional. Women internalize pressure to appear desirable and marketable at all times. Economic desperation and digital voyeurism reinforce one another in a self-perpetuating loop. The more precarious a society becomes, the more people commodify their private lives for stability. It's a system that turns loneliness into profit while disguising exploitation as liberation. Its success says less about personal morality than about the society that enables it. The platform's rise reflects broader failures. In a healthy economy, selling intimacy wouldn't be promoted as empowerment. In a connected society, loneliness wouldn't be a commodity. But in a world starved of stability and belonging, the trade in attention and desire has become one of the few growth industries left. When selling the self becomes the most attainable route to security, it reveals not liberation but the quiet breakdown of social contracts that once promised dignity through work and belonging through community. Across everything we've explored, from the extreme wealth inequality driving OnlyFans to the celebrity illusion of opportunity, the hidden exploitation and the long-term fallout, a single truth emerges. This is not a platform built on empowerment, but on the extraction of value from vulnerability. Behind the facade lie real human costs. Creators losing control of their identities to agencies and impersonators, private material linked permanently across the internet, workers whose supposed independence becomes a lifelong obstacle to career, reputation, or stability. OnlyFans epitomizes a society comfortable with commercializing despair. It is what happens when economic instability meets digital voyeurism, when attention becomes currency and privacy becomes expendable. True empowerment isn't the freedom to sell yourself, it's the freedom not to have to. It means access to meaningful alternatives, stable work, affordable housing, and a future built on dignity rather than exposure. Until those exist, platforms like OnlyFans will continue to market dependency as autonomy, convincing people that visibility equals power while trapping them in cycles of exhaustion and self-commodification. Unless we learn to question the narratives that package exploitation as freedom, we risk embracing our own captivity, mistaking dependence for empowerment and calling the cage liberation. Due to all of this, I have absolutely no plans to start an OnlyFans. Don't forget that you can use my links to get 39% off Stellar Blade, 56% off Nier Automata, 47% off Wu Chang Fallen Feathers, and up to 90% off of thousands more titles for absolutely next to nothing. Each purchase helps support videos like this, and if you really love my work, get access to my behind the scenes cosplay library and more by becoming a backer over on Patreon. Or if you fancy just a bit of retro, check out my new Vectrix video over on Lady Arcade. I'll see you all again soon.